Imagine this. You get the recall letter, you book the appointment, you hand your truck over to a GM dealer and they do exactly what General Motors told them to do. You get the paperwork, you get the warranty extension, you drive home thinking it's handled. And then, weeks later, your engine dies anyway. That is not a hypothetical. That is a documented pattern. 36 separate owners have now told the federal government that their 6.2-liter V8 failed after the recall repair was already completed. Not before, after. And here's the part that should make every Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Yukon, and Escalade owner sit up. While those complaints were stacking up at NHTSA, General Motors was in federal court asking a judge to throw out the owner's lawsuit. Their argument? That the recall already solved the problem. So today we're going to walk through exactly what GM's fix actually is, why federal investigators reopened the file, and the single sentence in GM's legal filing that has owners absolutely furious. Stay with me, because the number GM used to defend itself in court is the most revealing thing in this entire story. First, let's be clear about what we're talking about, because precision matters here. The engine is the L87. It's GM's 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8, the top gas engine in their full-size trucks and SUVs. This is not the base motor. This is the one you pay extra for. It's what sits under the hood of loaded Silverados, Sierra Denales, Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukons, and Cadillac Escalades. In April of 2025, General Motors issued recall number 25V-274. The population, 597,571 vehicles. Just under 600,000. The defect, in GM's own description, comes down to the bottom end of the engine. Crankshafts that didn't meet specification and connecting rods with manufacturing debris and sediment contamination, including contamination inside the crankshaft oil galleries. Those are the passages that feed oil to the bearings. Starve a rod bearing of clean oil and you get friction. Friction becomes heat. Heat becomes a spun bearing. A spun bearing becomes a broken connecting rod. And a broken connecting rod becomes an engine that seizes, sometimes at highway speed, with total loss of propulsion. That's the failure chain. Remember it, because it's about to become very important. Now here's where this story turns. When you hear recall, you probably assume the broken part gets replaced. That is not what happened here, not for most owners. GM's remedy has two branches. Branch 1, the dealer scans the vehicle. If it throws diagnostic trouble code P0016, a crankshaft to camshaft correlation code, you get a brand new engine free. Branch 2, no code. And this is where the overwhelming majority of those 600,000 vehicles landed. If your truck doesn't set that code, you don't get an engine. You get an oil change. Specifically, the dealer drains the factory 0W20 and refills it with a heavier 0W40 full synthetic, GM's Dexos R spec. New filter, new oil fill cap with updated labeling, and a 10-year, 150,000-mile extended warranty on the engine. That's it. That's the fix for most owners. Now, I want to be fair to the engineering logic here, because there is some. Thicker oil maintains a stronger film between the bearing and the crank journal. If your clearances are marginal, heavier oil can genuinely buy you margin. This isn't nonsense. But look at what it does not do. It does not remove contaminated metal debris from inside the engine. It does not replace a crankshaft that was ground out of spec at the factory. It does not touch the connecting rods. If the root cause is physically wrong, parts sitting inside your motor, thicker oil doesn't remove them. It just changes the conditions they're operating in. And that is precisely the question the federal government is now asking. On January 16, 2026, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened a recall query. The file number is RQ26001. Understand what a recall query is because it's a specific and fairly rare thing. A normal investigation asks, is there a defect? A recall query asks a much more damning question, is the fix good enough? NHTSA had already accepted GM's remedy. Then they reopened the file to audit it. The stated subject of the investigation, in the agency's own words, loss of motive power due to engine failure, post-recall remedy. The trigger was 36 owner complaints. And here's the detail that defines this entire story. In all 36 of those complaints, the recall repair had already been completed before the engine failed. Owners reported failures of both branches of the remedy, the oil change branch and the engine replacement branch. Let that land for a second. There are owners in that file who received an entire new engine under the recall and reported a failure anyway. The scope of the investigation is the full recall population, all 597,571 vehicles. Now, I'm going to give you the honest counterweight because I'm not here to scare you with numbers that don't hold up. 36 complaints out of 600,000 vehicles is a small percentage. And NHTSA's opening resume lists 0 crashes, 0 fires, 0 injuries, and 0 fatalities tied to those 36 specific post-remedy reports. So this is not, at this moment, a body count story. What it is a credibility story, because the whole premise of a recall is that the repair ends the risk. When federal investigators have to formally ask whether the repair works, GM's central defense starts to wobble, and GM's central defense is exactly what they took into court. Run this timeline in parallel, and it gets uncomfortable. Owners had been filing suit throughout 2025. Eventually, more than a dozen separate cases were consolidated into one in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan in front of Judge Shalina Kumar. It's captioned Powell versus General Motors. On February 26, 2026, plaintiffs filed the consolidated complaint, 389 pages. 44 named plaintiffs, current and former owners, representing model years 2019 through 2024. And note that range, it reaches back further than the recall itself, which covers 2021 through 2024. Their core allegation is that this is a design problem. Inadequate lubrication between the bearings and the crankshaft, not a one-off factory mistake. GM moved to dismiss, and their arguments are worth hearing in full, because this is a company's actual legal position, not a rumor. Argument 1. Blame the suppliers. GM says its engineers identified 2 primary root causes, and both traced to supplier manufacturing and quality issues, the contamination and the out-of-spec crankshafts. Their point: a supplier screwed up, that's not a design defect. Argument 2, and this is the one. General Motors told the court that only about 3% of the affected engines actually experienced problems. Their reasoning is that a true design defect would show up across the board. If the design were bad, they argue, all of them would be failing. Argument 3, the recall already fixed it, so the case is essentially moot, and NHTSA, not a federal judge, is the right body to be handling it. Now sit with argument 2 for a moment. 3% of roughly 600,000 engines. 3% is 18,000 engines. GM is using that figure as a shield, but 18,000 catastrophic engine failures is not a rounding error. That's a small city's worth of dead V8s. And separately, the plaintiff's filings point to more than 28,000 field reports connected to this issue. Whether 3% is legally persuasive is genuinely up to a judge. Whether it's reassuring if you're the owner, that's a very different question. And then there's the contradiction sitting right in the middle of it all. GM's third argument is the recall solved this, trust the regulator. Meanwhile, that same regulator has an open file asking whether the recall solved anything. So where does this actually sit today? Briefing on the motion to dismiss wrapped up at the end of June 2026. As of right now, there is no publicly reported ruling. The judge has not thrown the case out, and the judge has not let it proceed. It's pending. RQ 26001 is still open. NHTSA has not issued findings, and no second recall has been ordered. But if that investigation concludes the remedy was inadequate, GM could be forced back to nearly 600,000 vehicles for a second attempt. And this time, an oil change almost certainly won't clear the bar. A ruling could land any week now. So if you want to know how this one breaks, subscribe, because I'll cover it the day it happens. And I want to hear from you. Has your L87 been through the recall? Did the dealer replace the engine, or did you get the oil change? Drop it in the comments. That's real-world data, and it's genuinely more current than anything in the court file. I'll see you in the next one.